fake news media, it helps. Because they're all saying it's a scam. Even people that don't like me are saying this is a terrible thing to do for a country. I don't know whether it helps or hurts. I can tell you, in my opinion, it's a new way of cheating on elections. It's called election interference. What they're doing is, if they can't win at the ballot box, because I'm leading everybody by a lot in the polls, for every Republican, frankly, and every Democrat by a lot, including Biden, by a lot. And they can't beat you that way. They're going to do this kind of stuff. This has never been done like this before in the history of our country to this extent. People are pleading with the prosecutor, don't do it, don't do it, it's wrong. Even Democrats, even people that traditionally are not exactly my fans are saying, don't do it, because I didn't do anything wrong. I did nothing wrong.
Let me ask you this then. And I thought about this last week. You were the President of the United States, and I saw your post on Truth Social, and I read the reports in the New York Times, and I saw pundits all over media speculating that you were going to be arrested. That would mean you'd be arrested.
A couple of weeks ago.
You'd be arraigned.
Yeah.
That there'd be a mugshot, you'd be fingerprinted, and maybe even handcuffed. Now, when you think about being at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and juxtapose it to that, how do you deal with that?
Well, I deal with it. We're dealing with very dishonest people. We're dealing with thugs. We're dealing with people I actually believe that hate our country. Last night I had a rally with tens of thousands of people. The press admitted there were at least 25 or 30,000 people. That means you can double it, at least in Texas, Waco, Texas. And it was like a love fest. It was incredible. And at the same time, these are people that really feel that they've been hurt by the way this country is being run. Look at what, in Texas, as an example, in Arizona, look at what they're going through at the border. But that's really affected all that just happened to walk through Texas and Arizona. It's affecting every state in the union. It's affecting our country. We have people pouring. I mean, I predict at the end, because they're giving phony numbers, they're giving fake numbers. I predict at the end of the year, it'll be 15 million people. That's larger than New York State. Will come in here from mental institutions, insane asylums, as they used to call it, from prisons. You know, the prisons are being emptied out all over South America, and they're being dropped. The people are being dropped into our country. The mental institutions are being emptied out all over South America, but much more than that, all over the world. And they're traveling in through our southern border. I had the strongest, safest southern border in recorded history. There was nothing even close, including for drugs. You know, drugs are coming in at the rate of 10 times what they were 3 years ago. Think of that. Our country, the people are really hurt by it.
I'll get into the economy, I'll get into immigration, energy, and all of that in a second. These are important issues, because the country has changed dramatically in just a little over 2 years.
It's true.
I want to ask you about this. You're dealing with 3 major investigations. Last week reports, and I want to hand you 2 documents, and I'll explain what they are in a second.
Yeah.
So last week reports in the press, Alvin Bragg's office, the Manhattan DA, is in total, complete chaos, disagreement regarding your case. Monday of last week, Bob Costello gives devastating testimony in terms of, if you're looking for an indictment from the grand jury.
To the other side.
One of the letters I gave you is from February of 2018, yes. Michael Cohen's lawyer. Yeah. And that was exculpatory towards you. Totally. And your company and the campaign. And lastly, TMZ had a report. They brought it back out that I saw, and it was in the Daily Mail, Washington Post. And the second piece that I put up, and we'll put it up on the screen, is Stormy Daniels' denial in writing that you ever had a relationship. Yeah. So my question is this.
And denied it on many other occasions, too. I never had a relationship with her. I never had an affair with her. It's all made up.
So here's my question. So with all this information that came out in your favor, you talked about death and destruction. And then the baseball bat picture next to Alvin Bragg, and you did take that down. And my only question is, why open yourself up to criticism?
You have to understand that when the story was put up, I put up a story. We didn't see pictures. We put up a story that was very exculpatory, very good story from the standpoint of what we're talking about. And they put up a picture of me And you know where I was holding the baseball bat? It was at the White House. Make America, Buy America, because they did a lot of Buy America things. And this is a company that makes baseball bats. Then they put next to that picture a picture of Alvin Bragg. I didn't do it. They did it. I guess the people that do the paper or somebody put pictures together, but I was holding a baseball bat in order to promote Made in America.
It wasn't on your post at Truth Social?
No. What they did is we posted the story, but they had a picture up, but they then put a picture up, or the picture was put up that nobody noticed or saw, or that nobody thought was bad. These were two separate pictures. I was promoting Made in America. You make these baseball bats instead of sending over to Japan and China and all other places where they're made. This was a company, good company, that makes baseball bats and other things like that in America. They took that picture from the White House and they put it up, and then they put a picture of Alvin Bragg up. I will say this with death and destruction. I didn't say death and destruction. I said, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I said, I'm afraid that if they do this, which is a fake prosecution, where my worst enemies say that he's totally innocent. I mean, I can't believe people that have never been positive to me or defended me, that don't like me, they're on the other side of the world. These are people that said, you can't do this prosecution. It will cause tremendous problems. I didn't say do something bad. I say I am afraid that people will do something because people are very angry about it. Look, here's a letter from Stormy Daniels saying we never had an affair. Here's a letter from a very highly respected gentleman, Stephen Ryan, a very highly respected firm, McDermott, Will, and Emery, but Stephen Ryan's respected. He writes a letter saying everything I said was right, everything that his client, this is his lawyer, not my lawyer, and Bob Costello is one of the most respected lawyers anywhere in the country. He served in the government at the highest positions, all of that. He went in because he witnessed, he was a lawyer for Michael Cohen. He went in because he saw what Michael Cohen was saying, and he said, that's a lie. That's terrible what he's saying.
He was on my show last week.
I know that, and I thought he was amazing and fantastic. And he's doing that out of civic duty. He's not doing that for any reason. I don't know Bob Costello, by the way. I don't know him. I know he represents people that I'm close to in some ways, but I have to tell, I don't know him. I know this. He's a highly respected person, and he couldn't stand to see, this was his client, he couldn't stand to see this guy who's already a convicted, I mean, he's a felon. He's been to jail, and this is on stuff not having to do with me. His reputation is terrible. Now, before all of this happened, his reputation was he was a normal lawyer. So it made sense to use somebody like that. They always like to say a fixer. He was a fixer. They use that term. He was a lawyer, but he was one of many, many lawyers that I used.
That letter goes on to say, in a private transaction before the U.S. presidential election, Mr. Cohen used his own personal funds to facilitate the $130,000 payment to Ms. Clifford. Neither the Trump Organization nor the Trump campaign was a party to the transaction with Ms. Clifford, and neither reimbursed Mr. Cohen for payment directly or indirectly, and that they go on to say neither Cohen or his LLC made any in-kind contributions to you, your campaign for president, or any presidential campaign committee, and that he was not a government employee at the time, and the payment in question does not constitute a campaign contribution. That's their star witness.
He probably did that to ingratiate himself to me, because that would be maybe smart to do from his standpoint. But he probably did that to ingratiate himself. But if you take a look at that letter, that's perfect. Now, I will say, you also have other people that say it wouldn't have even mattered because there was still no campaign contribution, et cetera, et cetera. You know, the FEC, but you look at that letter, and it spells it out, in my opinion, much more accurately. The FEC, though, has looked at this and turned it down.
The FEC, the DOJ, the previous Manhattan DA, and even Alvin Bragg originally.
He turned it down.
He turned it down.
And you know who else turned it down? Bob Mueller turned it down. Everybody looked at this. This thing's ancient history.
But let me be clear. So you did not post the picture of you with a baseball bat in the Oval Office next to the picture with Bragg. Somebody else did that?
I posted a very positive article.
Yeah.
And whatever picture they put up. My people didn't put up the picture. I think the picture maybe was either in the article or was put in the article later. But again, that was a baseball bat to promote made in America, companies make in America. Don't go to Japan to buy.
But you know how it was interpreted.
Well, because that's the fake news media show.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
All right, let me ask you this.
They take anything you can say, anything you say, and they say the opposite. The Democrats are genius at a few things. They're horrible at foreign relations. They're horrible at policy. They're horrible at everything. They're good at a number of things, though. Misinformation or disinformation, depending on your definition, but both. They give misinformation. Look at what they said about Russia hoax. I watched Shifty Schiff, getting up in Congress and repeating my conversation. That was totally wrong because I didn't tell him we had the phone call taped. So he totally, then I said, oh, good, we'll sue him and we'll take him down. They said, you're not allowed to sue him because he's allowed to lie in the halls of Congress. So he got up and reported a totally fake conversation. But they go misinformation. Russia was misinformation or disinformation. All of these hoaxes have been found out to be.
I covered Russia for 3 years.
Yes, you covered it very accurately.
And we got it right.
You got it right.
As affirmed by the Horowitz report, et cetera.
You and a number of people got it right. Greg Jarrett got it right.
We had an entire
Solomon got it right. A lot of people.
There were a number of us.
And you know what? The people that got it wrong.
I didn't get a Pulitzer Prize.
But they got it right, Pulitzer Prize. And you know what we're doing? We sued the Pulitzer Foundation.
I know.
Because they're demeaning me by trying to claim. The Times and the Washington Post, everybody has now discredited that. They said they made a mistake. Okay, that's fine. But if their reporters got it for the accurate reporting of Russia, they have to take it back. And the Pulitzer Foundation will take those Pulitzer Prizes back.
I'm going to close this out, though, with this. And this is the last part about investigations. Sure. And that is Merrick Garland appointed a special counsel to look into two issues. One of the issues is about the document issue, which has become a problem for Joe Biden. Mike Pence volunteered documents that he had.
Bigger problem for him than for me. He's got places.
Well, the biggest problem is probably for Hillary, if we're going to be
Well, if you want to go into that and the emails and everything else. But just, if I could, Joe Biden's got 1,850 boxes in Delaware. Think of that, 1,850 boxes. He also has boxes now in Chinatown. Now, they say he's getting paid off by China. And he's got boxes stored in Chinatown. He's got boxes at University of Pennsylvania, and he's got boxes strewn all over the floor next to the Corvette, his beautiful Corvette, right? And nobody talks about that.
He didn't get raided.
I don't know how you can talk about me when they don't talk about Joe Biden, because what he did is so bad.
So this is why I want to know the history here. My understanding, and correct me at any point if I'm wrong, is that prior to the raid, way prior to the raid, the FBI had access to the very room where they ultimately found the documents, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
We showed them the room.
And didn't they also call a day or two after and say, can you please put a padlock on?
They did. I understand they called my lawyer, and we put the padlock. And by the way, they didn't say put a padlock on. They said, could you put another lock on? Because we already had it locked up.
On there. Yeah. Okay, so then my question is simple. Why didn't they take the documents that day, one? And number two, did the FBI ever ask to come back? Did you ever deny the FBI any access that they requested to come back to that room or any other room?
So the FBI was there. They showed them the room. I told them it was okay, show them the room. I said you could show them the documents, you could do whatever you want. The FBI could have taken the documents if they would have asked. They didn't ask about that. The only thing they asked for was, could you put an extra lock?
Right.
It was under lock and key. This wasn't strewn all over the floor of a garage with a garage door that you can buy for $179 and you can cut it with scissors.
Right.
And that was open all the time, by the way. You know, that door was open most of the time with the Corvette. This was a lock that we had a good, strong lock. They asked, could we put a second one? And then I don't know what the timing was. And then they come in and raid. We would have given them the stuff had they asked for it. But you know what it is? This is election interference. They're trying to make it look bad. Now, I think the raid on Mar-a-Lago did backfire badly on them. People are... I had people that weren't my supporters that are now supporters because of the raid on Mar-a-Lago.
But did they ever call you again and say, hey, can we go back to that room? Hey, can we have access? Did they ever do that?
Yeah, and I think we did. I mean, it'd have to be specific. Because
I don't remember.
But, well, I think the lawyers, they did call the lawyers, and the lawyers gave them access to the room. They came back.
So they didn't have to raid?
They shouldn't have raided. Okay, the Presidential Records Act is very specific, and it had to do with Richard Nixon and all the problems they had with documents for years and years and years, and even before Richard Nixon. And it's basically an instrument that it's not criminal in any way. It says you are going to discuss the documents. You discuss everything, not only everything, about what's going in NARA, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to discuss it. You will talk, talk, talk. And if you can't come to an agreement, you're going to continue to talk. Now, Obama has big disputes. Bush has big disputes. They all have disputes. But I'm the only one they come after because they want to interfere with the election.
Well, that's why the question that was key to me is, like, they already